great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And we get so many questions on this podcast. No way we can get to all of them. That's why we have our Team Clark Consumer Action Center, where you can get your question answered, one-on-one free advice from the Team Clark Consumer Action Center at clark.com/CAC. You'll see the hours, open 30 hours each week, how to reach someone to get one-on-one advice. And this is about your empowerment. It's just one of the ways that I want you to be empowered, is for you to be able to get that advice that can help you take charge of a problem you're having with a company or a question you don't know the right answer. Hopefully we can guide you to getting that power back in your life and getting that answer that you need to move forward. Now, there's something that as we move in the fall, well, officially it's not fall for a few more days, but anyway, this is peak gift card buying season that we're entering. And, you know, I despise gift cards for many different reasons, but there's something you need to know about gift cards I'm going to share with you straight ahead. And you know something else I hate? Bank junk fees. And I want to talk about ATM charges and what you need to know so that you don't get ripped off. So let's talk rip-offs with gift cards. So gift cards at base are not a good thing because of what's known as breakage. Retailers, restaurants push them so hard because with a gift card, a lot of people misplace them. They put them in a drawer gathering dust, whatever. And so when retailers and publicly traded restaurants post their financials, then one of the things they post in there is about breakage. And breakage is the gift cards that they sold that no one ever redeemed. And gift cards that are not redeemed, I find, in the first 30 days tend to end up forgotten about and in many cases never used. And the retailer or restaurant could go bust, the money's gone. And it's a big problem with gift cards. But that's not even the biggest problem, because what has come up over and over again is where you buy a gift card for yourself or as a gift to someone else, and they or you go to use it, and the money's not there. There is no money on that card. It now has a name that industry uses called card draining. So many gift cards are sold without proper security by the seller, particularly if you buy them in a convenience store, a pharmacy, or a retailer that has a rack of gift cards out. What criminals are doing is they take those gift cards, they get the information off of them with the card number and the code, and then they put them back together in the packaging, and they put them back on the shelf, and they have software programs that people can get really cheaply that they automatically check card numbers that people have recorded all day, all night, and then they say, hey, got a hit here. And so a card just got activated, and that criminal then empties that card because they already have the card number and the PIN, the secret code. Well, the state of Maryland, as so often happens with financial crimes, solutions will come up experimentally from different states. And Maryland has a law that retailers, restaurants, everybody is like freaking out about. Because guess what Maryland's law does? It requires that the packaging be secure packaging on a gift card. Oh my goodness! A revolution! And the restaurants and retailers are showing they don't care about you and your money by being furious, like kids having temper tantrums. They're furious that they now have to package gift cards in a way they can't be tampered with. Okay. I don't think the people peddling gift cards could be more dumb if they tried. This doesn't even get a room temperature IQ from corporate America that's upset about what Maryland did. Because what's going to happen over time is the gift card business will erode, because all it takes is one time for somebody to have a gift card that all the money's been stolen, and the retailer or restaurant said, that's life stuff. Your money's gone. And people burned that way, aren't going to buy gift cards anymore. What's the expression? Fooled once, shame on you. Fooled twice, shame on me. So people will not buy gift cards, which is ultimately what I wish would happen anyway. But, this is so dumb. Yes, you should be excited that gift cards have to be put in tamper-proof packaging, because then people won't get burned, and you'll still be able to make all the money from the breakage when people don't remember to use a card. So Maryland did the right thing, and retailers and restaurants should be doing the right thing anyway without government interference and a government law.
Okay.
I have no opinion about gift cards ever, have I?
No opinion at all. Jenny, and sorry, there's like a little frog in my throat. Jenny in Connecticut says, my flight from London to New York City was canceled on me twice, resulting in a 5-day delay. It's been over 6 weeks, and I have not heard back from Norse. They do not have a customer service number to call, only chatbots. When I try contacting them via social media, their only response is the automated, we are experiencing higher than expected wait times. Thank you for your patience response. Is there another organization I can contact for answers?
So Jenny, Norse, for people who are not aware, is a deep discounter for flights over the Atlantic. They have the planes that used to be with another Scandinavian discounter that greatly shrunk its service and discontinued international service, and Norse ended up with their planes, and they're doing the same kind of thing with the cheap one-way flights to and from Europe, and they are very cheap, but you ended up with a 5-day delay, and they're like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Okay, so Europe, different than us, has strict laws on compensation for delays. And there's a really simple explanation about how this works on the website, The Points Guy. And so if you go to the Points Guy website, and what is it tpg.com? Anyway,
sure.
just whatever search
we'll
engine you use,
notes.
put in, thank you. Mm-hmm. And it will explain what your rights are. Now, then enforcing the rights. Even the full-fare airlines that serve Europe, our own U.S. airlines, when they're covered by the European Union rules, and European airlines that are full-fare airlines, none of them play by the rules and want to pay the compensation. So once you know what the rules are and what Norse is required to reimburse you, you may end up wanting to hire one of these companies that have sprung up around Europe that Americans can hire. You hire them right online, and you pay them a commission for getting you the compensation that the European Union law requires you receive. With airlines, I find that it's really hard for individual consumers to get the compensation that law requires, and you may find that most of a loaf is better than none of a full loaf, and that you will end up wanting to hire one of these European companies that know how to force the European airlines and U.S. airlines serving Europe to pay the money you're entitled to. And the rules are clear as could be what Norse owes you.
Andrew in Florida says, my wife and I planned a 34-day European vacation using the Eurail as our mode of transport. A week before the trip, my wife fell at the pool and severely injured her knee. She'll be fine. Okay. It will just take time to recover. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our whole trip. We used our Chase Sapphire points for the United flight, and now I have a $723 credit with United. Can I get that in a cash form from them instead of having a credit with them? Thanks. P.S. I haven't changed my razor since December 1st of 2023. Still going strong.
Okay, let's start with the last thing first, Andrew, since that's lighthearted. Fantastic. And I'm telling you, what Andrew is doing, what I've done, it absolutely works. You can, instead of letting Gillette own a quarter of your annual income by selling you endless numbers of blades through a year, you just properly manage that blade by drying it after every use, because that's what makes them deteriorate, not the act of shaving. And you can make a blade last month after month after month. Longest I've had one last 14 months. So that's just a little tip for you. All right, going back to the trip that unfortunately did not happen, and I'm so glad that your wife is recovering from this painful injury. The credit, I know this is going to sound weird of me, but the fact that you got the credit is great, because you used to not on international trips. You used to pay huge fees even if you were allowed to change or cancel. And so you will have usually a year to use that money, and I hope that you'll travel somewhere that you can fly on United in the next year and use up that money. And United has enough service to and from the state of Florida, around the U.S. Even if you're not going back to Europe with this money, you should be able to use it. They're not going to give you cash. Using the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, the Chase Sapphire points. The Chase points are, as points go, very good points, because they give you the equivalent of 1.5 cents value for every cent of travel you buy, and it is a good card. I do want to point out to people who love to travel, and you're a free agent, you don't want to be in one of the specific airline programs with their card, that the Capital One Venture X gives you 2x on everything you do. So your redemption, even though you're only getting 1% when you redeem, you're actually getting 2%, and it is a superior card that most people don't know about compared to the Chase Sapphire card.
Jim in New York says, I'm going to take my mom on an Alaskan cruise. I was planning on us getting a balcony room to appreciate the views. What are the pros and cons of purchasing through Costco? What trip insurance do I get, and what should a first-time cruiser know? And then he wrote some very nice compliments.
Come on, he wrote compliments about you. You never will read compliments.
He just said you and Christa are amazing, and most of the time what stinks is the thin-skinned agenda pushers who bring up petty discrepancies to roast you over.
Oh, so it was about both
You
of
give
us.
great advice. Yes.
No. Jim, thank you for that, but I love hearing from people with feedback that is not necessarily positive and sometimes is fired up. That's the only way you learn. And having the privilege of having people share their feedback with me is invaluable. And so I really appreciate that people do that. Now, booking a cruise through Costco Travel. Costco Travel is a no-frills outlet for booking cruises. There is not the normal service quotient. But what you're getting is you're getting a great deal on the cruise, because Costco rebates most of what they earn from a cruise back to you in Costco shop cards. And gosh, I just picked on gift cards. I'm talking about the Costco shop card. But anyway, it is a great, great price, but you need to be someone who knows what you want. You have meaningful cruise experience. If that's not you, you haven't done a lot of cruises, book with an experienced cruise-only agent or a experienced cruise specialist at a traditional travel agency. You'll potentially pay a higher price, but you'll have a much better experience because they'll understand you and what you like to do and all that, and they'll match you with the right cruise. If you already know all that stuff, booking through Costco Travel is a great idea. Now, the trip insurance thing. If you have the Costco Visa card, you don't get trip insurance anymore with it. So even though you're going to give up the 2% you get for using 3% for using that card, if you have another credit card that using it, you get free trip insurance with it, use it to book your cruise through Costco Travel. It'll have to be a Visa card in most cases, but it would be worth it to give up the 3%, and hopefully you have some kind of rewards with whatever other travel card you'd use, and use one that includes trip insurance. If you don't have any that have trip insurance included, then you could sign up for a trip insurance at Insure My Trip or any of the other comparison shopping sites. Just know with any trip insurance policy, they are very hard to get the claims paid. And you have to document everything. And don't just look at the shiny brochure. Read the actual contract, not what's included, more important, what's not included. Coming up ahead, I want to talk about an included fee I despise, and that is when you go to use an ATM and you often are charged a fee by that ATM and then by your own financial institution when you go to somebody else's to use an ATM. And the banks just keep pushing those fees up higher and higher and higher. Why? Because they can. I'm going to talk about how you should handle that straight ahead. I'm going to take you way, way, way back in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to take you back to prehistoric times in the early 1970s when ATMs first came into play. And banks couldn't get anybody to use one. And this is going to sound weird. They would pay you to use one. Pay you. And the bank that I used at that time, before I switched to Pentagon Federal Credit Union, when I went to work at the Pentagon, the bank that I used paid me a voucher for a free Slurpee at 7-Eleven every time I pulled money out of the ATM.
You must have loved that. That is like, were they targeting you specifically?
No, anybody. It was the promotion that anybody who pulled money out of the ATM got a free Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
So how many did you keep pulling money out? Like just
I'd
$10?
pull out $1 at a time and get so many Slurpee coupons. You think I'm kidding?
Awesome.
They really
I
did.
know you're not kidding.
They really did offer that. And so I took advantage of the free Slurpees. And different financial institutions had all kinds of promotions where they would pay you, because the original idea of ATMs was naturally that the banks were looking at it as a labor-saving device, and that you save them money by them needing fewer tellers if you go to an ATM.
Exactly. It's true.
Yeah. And so now, ironically, we fast forward 50 years later, and now banks charge a fortune for this thing that saves them money. Wow. Banks are something else. Anyway, Bankrate's newest study finds the average charge for you pulling money out of an ATM, and this is before whatever charge your own financial institution would charge you, but you go to an ATM, $4.77. $4.77. And certain cities are much higher The cities that are higher tend to be dominated by some of the giant monster mega banks. The 4 giant monster mega banks that control half of banking in the country are Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America. And in cities where 3 or 4 of those are really powerful, have the highest charges at ATMs. Number 1 in the country is Atlanta at $5.33 average to pull your own money out of an ATM. And if you want to know the other high-cost cities, San Diego, Phoenix, Detroit, and Cleveland, according to Bankrate. Now, who's cheapest? And to say it, I wouldn't call it cheap, but who's at the lowest end of this? Boston, which has a tradition and continues to have a lot of banking competition and has the lowest ATM fees in the country. So this is bad ugly. I use Charles Schwab for my checking. I don't have any bank account. And using Schwab through the Schwab brokerage side, although they have a bank, I use the Schwab brokerage for my checking account. And I don't pay any ATM fees. And so when I go to an ATM and it says you're going to pay $3, $5, whatever, I don't pay that. Schwab absorbs it unlimited number of times. And a number of financial institutions, particularly credit unions, will have reimbursement for ATM fees, but they'll cap them at so many per month. But I was talking with a customer service person at Schwab one day, and I explained that I try to go to ATMs that either don't have fees or have very low fees. And he said, "You do?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, if I waste your money at some point, it might not be free anymore to use the ATM." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And so I go around, and when I find one that I know is free, I use it. But that's hard to find. But I am able to find them. And again, I'm not saving myself any money at all by doing that. But you need to know that there are institutions you can use that will cover it. There are those that you can use that they don't charge you as part of the account you have, that you won't have to pay the fees. But how crazy outrageous. And the reason I pointed out that cities that have domination of their local banking from the 4 giant monster megas, any number of those 4, that those cities have the highest ATM charges. And the reason I wanted to point that out is even if you rarely use an ATM, that is the canary in the coal mine. That the giant monster mega banks charge so much money in fees on everything. They get up every day trying to figure out what other fee they can create to take money from you and give it to their stockholders instead of you having that money in your life. And that's why you hear me talk so much about why you should scope out credit unions and small local banks for your banking. Because the ATMs, as outrageous as the fees are, as much a ripoff as they are, is just one factor. One other thing I should mention that historically a lot of people will use their ATM card for cash back at retailers and grocery stores. Unfortunately, a lot of retailers and grocery stores are now charging ATM-like junk fees when you do cash back on your ATM debit card at the retailer, or the supermarket. So look, next time you do, there may be a disclosure that they're now charging you a junk fee for that cash back you used to get for free.
Oof. Okay. Kevin in Maryland wrote in and said, I recently discovered an item in collections on my credit report and contacted the collections agency to investigate. They informed me it was for a property insurance on an investment property I purchased 6 months ago. To my surprise, the insurance company had initiated a policy without my knowledge or signature. I had only requested a quote. I insured the property with another provider, but this insurer sent the invoice to the rental property, which is out of state. Now they require proof of my other insurance policy to backdate and cancel theirs and to remove the charge from my credit report.
Okay, this is one I have never heard before.
And he said, have you ever heard of an insurance company starting a policy without the insured signature? It seems like fraud on their part. And this is a pretty big insurer that did this.
Yeah. They're one of the ones that spend billions of dollars that they could give policyholders cheaper premiums, but they spend all this money on ads to attract customers. All right. So yes, a company now can enter into a business relationship with you without a signature, because so many things now allow what's known as an electronic signature. So I don't know what happened in this case. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know if it was them cheating you or it was clerical or what. But there are a couple of things I want you to do. The state where the property is, you say investment property, we don't know that it's, you said it's out of state. Mm-hmm. So whatever state it is, not your state of Maryland, you want to file a complaint against the insurer with the state insurance department. All the state insurance departments take complaints about specific insurance companies. You want to do that because even if they ultimately give you a credit, they may not remove the item from your credit report and all that. You need them knowing there are eyes on them from the state regulators. The reason that's important is when insurers go to a state insurance department, they want this, that, or the other from them. If they've got a big record of unresolved complaints, then it's hard for them to convince the insurance department that they should have what they want. So that is a valuable tool you have to file a complaint with the state insurance department in the state where this property is located. That's first. Second, go ahead and provide the proof of the policy you have in place. But you want in writing from them the things that they said, that they will cancel their policy, they will backdate it, and they will remove it from your credit report. That must be in writing, because otherwise, what do you have to prove that that's what they promised you? An email is fine, anything like that, but you need something that later, if they don't behave, that you have that documentation up front.
Scott in Ohio says, I know it's a bad idea to give third parties permission to auto-debit from your primary checking account. You've told us it's preferable to either use your bank's bill pay service to send a payment or use a secondary bank account. What is your best practice for paying off store cards and credit cards? The amounts are irregular, making it hard to automatically transfer money to a secondary account, and the vendors seldom support e-billing. Automating the important task of paying off my credit cards is an absolute must for an airhead like me. Me too. I'm with you, Scott. Should I just take the risk and give them my primary checking account info?
Yeah, okay. So this week, I addressed this a few months ago, that the harm to your credit in your credit score lasts a long time from an oops and failing to make a single payment. And it's not something you won't overcome, but it's just, it always seems to happen at an inconvenient time when you're trying to do this or buy that or refinance a home or whatever. So if you know that you tend to have a little bit of flaky to you, I would, in spite of the risks that can come with it, go to each website of each credit card you have and set up for at least automatic payment of minimum payment due. And they will ACH it. They'll take the money right from your checking account. And the risk of doing that is real but low. The benefit of doing it is real and large. So yes, I would risk giving them your primary checking account and knowing that at least the minimum payments are being made.
Darren in South Carolina says, my parents are in their early 60s and have no 401k money and debt that exceeds what they will be eligible to receive through Social Security. Among this debt is a brand new truck that they are upside down on and 28 remaining years on a mortgage they had to refinance. What actions do you advise for people who are just gaining financial literacy this late in life? The only route I see for them is to overpay their debt and bring their overall costs down so that Social Security will cover their needs, since investing puts them at risk on a short-term horizon. Do you think this is the right strategy? How aggressive should they be in overpaying on these loans? Should they be contributing anything to their 401k?
Darren, this is real life, and I'm really sorry that your parents are facing this in their early 60s. You were very concerned about them, and rightly so, and what they're facing as they age. The question I don't know the answer to from what you wrote, are you more motivated about this, or are they? If they just took out this truck loan they're upside down on, and 2 years ago refinanced a home mortgage in their 60s, which means they'd owe the money into their 90s, and they have no money saved, I'm worried that you see the reality more than they do. And so I don't know where their head's at. If they're not there yet, rather than you being the adult child nagging them, Darren, I would like for them to have a free counseling session with a credit counselor and an affiliate of the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, and talk through their obligations, their income, and really get a focus, not from you trying to get them to do it, but hearing from a third party, this isn't going to work for you. It's a lot easier for somebody else to say that and be heard than it is for you as their kid to be heard. If that's not necessary, then we're talking about putting out fires here. But it's got to go beyond the fires. It's got to get to a whole new way of your parents thinking about money and their future. And it's got to involve them going on a clear spending and payment plan, that they live under a tight budget. And as part of that, yes, you're right. We're in such a dire situation here, already being in early 60s, that in terms of the 401k, they should be contributing, if there's any employer match, they need to contribute to it up to the employer match. But everything else needs to be about a disciplined plan of paying down debts before they get into retirement. And your worry is only the tip of the iceberg, that they have obligations monthly that exceed what they're going to receive from Social Security. I mean, they've got big financial problems here that need to be addressed head on. And they may even need to go into some kind of payment plan with the debts they have. So thank you for being concerned about them. Thank you for getting involved. Just know that this is going to be some tough medicine they're going to have to endure to get to a point where they are on a secure footing financially, and they may have to work longer than they originally intended to in order to be able to live a life they can afford in retirement. And best of luck to them and to you as their adult child. And thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. Know what we're about. We're about you learning techniques, strategies, so that you save more throughout your working lifetime. You spend less day to day and monthly and over time. And don't let anybody ever rip you off. And we'll see you tomorrow.